building for the Archdiocese of Louisville Deacon Program, we recently had a moral theology class where we discussed all sorts of issues. Issues that would typically be somewhat controversial or hot button topic issues that if said out in public somewhere, they would spark anger in some, they would spark conversation among others, but they would definitely spark conversation at the very least to everyone. In the class, Dr. Gregory Hillis mentioned something about bumper stickers. And it was interesting when he said this, he talked about sayings that you have on the bumper stickers. And almost like when you put this bumper sticker on your car, it's like you won one for your team. Like somehow this bumper sticker had some kind of win for your side. Just to give you an example, sometimes you see bumper stickers on cars that say, abortion kills, or you see a bumper sticker on a car for a pro-choice slogan that says, keep your laws off my body. Almost immediately, when you see those two slogans, you immediately identify with the slogan, or you identify that you're absolutely opposed to that slogan, and you want to go the absolute other way. Well, I'm asking you today if you just give me a little bit of latitude, and instead of automatically bringing up images in your mind about some of these things that I might say, maybe a hot button topic word or something like that that might spark some memory in your mind, please just be open to the talk today and listen to what's being said. I'm going to discuss today the Catholic stance on life, the Catholic view on life. And I think the best place to start probably is the Catechism of the Catholic Church, CCC. So that's it. And if we go to number 2258, let me read this to you. It talks about human life. Human life is sacred because from its beginning, it involves the creative action of God, and it remains forever in a special relationship with the Creator, who is its sole end. God alone is the Lord of life from its beginning until the end. No one can, under any circumstance, claim for himself the right directly to destroy an innocent human being. Marriage, the pre-Cana, the marriage prep to get married before you get married in the Catholic Church, it definitely, one of the topics that is discussed in the session is an openness to life, to have a willingness to accept children from God. And that's talked about in great detail. It seems like there's always a discussion about birth control, and it reminds me of what Bishop Sheen famously said about birth control. He said, everybody wants it, but nobody believes in it. And it's like, birth and then control. I thought that was pretty humorous for him. Understand that it takes 3 to make a baby. So it's not 2. Of course, the woman's involved. She provides the egg to the transaction. The man provides the seed or the sperm. And then there's also God. God provides the soul, and he forms the baby in the womb. So to destroy a life through abortion or through any artificial means is an offense to God the Creator. Let's turn to Gaudium et Spes, paragraph number 51, where it says, therefore, from the moment of its conception, life must be guarded with the greatest care, while abortion and infanticide are unspeakable crimes. That's pretty strong language. Pretty strong language against abortion and infanticide. Hopefully, hopefully abortion is not something that people would consider doing, because you would understand the gravity of such a thing. But the whole talk today is not about just abortion. It's really about all of life. And all of life, the whole life of a human person is respectable. The whole life of a human person is valuable, and it's worthy. That person is worthy to live every moment of his or her life. Recall from Genesis, Cain and Abel, when Cain killed Abel because of his jealousy of Abel. And then God spoke to Cain and said, God then said, what have you done? Your brother's blood cries to me from the ground. Isn't that what's happening in any type of way when there's any kind of ending of a life? That God knows about that ending in the life. God knows that the blood of that person is crying to him from the ground. Let's move back again to Gaudium et Spes. Let's look at paragraph number 27, where it says, furthermore, whatever is opposed to life itself, such as any type of murder, genocide, abortion, euthanasia, or willful self-destruction, whatever violates the integrity of a human person, all these things and others of their like are infamies indeed. They poison human society, but they do more harm to those who practice them than those who suffer the injury. Moreover, they are supreme dishonor to God, to the Creator. Hearing words like that and offending God is not something that I particularly want to do, and probably not something that anyone else would want to do. Obviously, it's an examination of your own conscience. So what about the end of life? Recently, well, probably back in the 90s, I guess, it's not so recently anymore, but you've heard of Jack Kevorkian and how he assisted in euthanasia. He assisted in those people suffering so badly that their loved ones asked them for him to help them euthanize their loved ones. And I think about that, and the life is precious even though that person is suffering. The life is precious even then. So let me bring a scenario to you so that we can think about this for a minute. Let's suppose that a person's suffering, and just imagine, because no one knows for sure, but a person is suffering here on earth, and maybe that suffering that they have here on earth will mitigate some of the reparation that they need to do for their life in purgatory. Will get them closer to God so that they can go straight to heaven, or they can mitigate some of their time in purgatory. Suppose that their suffering here on earth saves them from some of that, and their loved one, while well-intentioned, is only causing that time that they could put in for them to be shortened. And it's not helpful to them, because then they'll have to spend maybe more time in purgatory. So that's just a scenario that we can think about. Let's also think about the famous reading from Daniel chapter 5. This week we had that same reading where King Belshazzar saw the handwriting on the wall. You recall that he was given a feast, and in the feast he decided to take out the instruments, the cup, and the dishes from the temple from Jerusalem. He decided to get them out and pour wine and food in there and drink them, and then offer that to his gods of gold and silver and wood. And when he did this, he did it in complete disregard for the Hebrew God. And what happened was, as we know from the story famously, was the hand appeared out of nowhere and started writing on the plaster in the wall, and started writing words on the wall. And so he was obviously petrified, and all the people in his company were petrified, seeing this big giant hand coming out and writing on the wall. Daniel was summoned to interpret what the words on the wall meant, and to interpret what was going on and how this should happen, what it meant. What Daniel told him was that the words meant that his kingdom was coming to an end, and that he was going to be replaced. And it just so happens that if you read further past the readings that we had this week, later that night, King Belshazzar was actually slain. And so his kingdom did end, and ended that very night. And King Darius the Mede was actually appointed, or was made the king, and became the king. If it offends God, I think we have to ask this question. If it offends God that a king would disrespect him enough to take a cup or a bowl or something and use it to disrespect God, and God gets offended, So much so that he writes on the wall and tells him, quit that, and then his kingdom actually ends that very night. What does he think about someone who flippantly ends the life of another for whatever reason? Maybe in an abortion, or maybe in some kind of euthanasia or something like that. What would God think? Because God is the creator. Have we, as people, have we decided that we're greater than God? And if we have, we should take the lesson from King Belshazzar, who learned that very night that God is God and we are his creatures. So what's our ultimate goal? Isn't our ultimate goal to get to heaven? Isn't that what we're all striving for? All believers, we think that there is something more than this. We think that there's a heaven and a hell. Catholics certainly believe in purgatory. We believe that there's more. Our soul exists in us, and we go on to something else. If I want to spend eternity with God, wouldn't I do the things that would make God happy? Wouldn't I do the things that would please God so that I could spend eternity with him? Isn't that my choice? Shouldn't that be all of our choice? So then why would we want to offend him by doing something as silly and devastating, truly, as ending someone's life, someone between the point of conception to natural death? To me, it's very simple. It's just a matter of respecting life.